Thank you so much, Chitra. Thank you for pulling me up for this talk. And, while preparing this talk, I have learned so much about internal quality control and what are the things that I have not been doing, we have not been doing at our institution has really come to light. So it is very important that we have internal quality control, and it actually is the key. The areas of quality control, if we can just divide it out, and it is very important for us not only to go into the science of quality control, but more so in the art of quality control. Administration, I believe, is an art, less of a science, more of an art. And again, quality control becomes more of an art than the science. So what can we break it down scientifically again here? But that is all that what science would say is quality of the treatment. So if we are giving good quality treatment, upgraded quality treatment, treatment that is at par with the best treatments of the region, of the state, and finally of the world today. So if we can charge the treatment offered, the treatment of service offered to this level and gradually upgrade it from one level to the other, there again is we have to give a comparison apple to apple to what we are doing in treatment, and everything today is there on the net for all our patients to see, all our patients to know, and each one of them knows that yes, this doctor is giving me this part of the treatment. If he is being served and treatment of cataract by SICS, he definitely knows there's something called laser technology and there's something called phaco technology, and he will ask for it. Because let us remember that our patients are different from what they were 20 years ago. So when they ask for it, we have to say that this is what we are doing, this is what we can, but this is what we cannot. So what we can and what we can't is again what we have to upgrade. The quality of service. The treatment is only one thing. Let us all remember the quality of service is again that human part, that art part of the service that should be given. If the quality of service is not good, yet the treatment quality is world class, that treatment transporting to the patient is not much for the patient. The patient's acceptance of that world-class treatment, if it is given shoddily, if it is given rudely, if it is not given with a smile, the patient does not feel happy, satisfied, even if it is first-class treatment that has been given out. And we know this from our day-to-day experiences over our patients day-to-day in our hospital. The next part is the infrastructure maintenance. If we can maintain good quality infrastructure, it's not just important to have a good phaco machine. The infrastructure, the maintenance of it, the paraphernalia, the disposables, and everything else, right from the OT to the OPD, handling the patient, everything is important for quality control. And where do we understand that are we giving what is required, what is desired, is by feedback. We have to have a proper feedback system right from the patient who is at the end point, next from our team, the staff in charge not only of the front desk, but also of the ward, the OT, and the different sections. The feedback has to come in, and then only we can say, yes, the treatment that I've been given needs appraisal, needs improvement, or are we in the right path? So the feedback is 100% important. And here a scientific feedback system is what is required. The skill upgradation, again, it's not just important to take a femtolaser machine and say that we have femto and blast it out into the media, that femto is there for you. No, we have to upgrade the skill not only of the surgeons, but also of the other team members, right from the OT to the OPD, as well as to the reception desk, where they have to say why is femto better and where femto is at par with the other different parts of the treatment. The quality of treatment for institutes and group practices definitely are different, but every institute should try and improve upon the quality. Similarly, group practices need to improve upon their quality to maintain high standard of patient care. Prescriptions go floating in the city, and this is one thing that induces into ourselves that my prescription should not be criticized. So we need to be understandable that the quality of the treatment is what we met out to the patient and what is given to the quality in the form of our prescription. Now, when we have a large number of patients, what happens is, yes, large number is there, affluence is there, money is coming in, patients are wanting appointment, and complacency sets in. And if mechanisms are not in place, if one is not in the toes, and if the expansion is not in view and not properly in view in the future, then complacency is something that definitely sets in. The routine internal and clinical meets and ideas of standardization, medical board for difficult diagnosis and management. This is something that we always have whenever it's an institute, whenever it's a group practice, and whenever it is important to have good quality consultations, cross consultations, and specialty wise. Even if a solo practitioner has to have cross consultation, it is important. Patients feel very, very happy that they have undergone a cross consultation by colleagues. The importance of cross consultation seeps into them, and it is good not only for the practitioner, but also for the institution. Internal audit of files, and I am going to give here a small example of Shankar Nethralaya, where I'm an alumni, and there, and I'm sure in all the other institutes, the internal audit of file is a very, very important task. And when I was a fellow at Shankar Nethralaya, Dr. Mona Binde was assigned this responsibility by Dr. S.S. Badrinath sir, and even today, I think she's in charge of the internal audit of files. And every day, every consultant would receive a file or a statement that this file needed this amount of improvement, or this file was extremely well marked. And as fellows, we remember that whenever a file with a good comment used to come, it would make us so happy. So internal audit doesn't just mean criticism, but it also means appreciation. Adverse reporting mechanisms are important. Complication register needs to be maintained. And thereby, again, this is again a scientific part where the science comes in, where you maintain a complication register, where you do not forget that you've had this complication in the past twice a year, or 3 times a year, or 4 times a year. And this complication could have been improved upon. It could have been avoided, in fact. The appointment system, the identification of issues, usually appointment systems have to be very important. Reception, the quality of reception is very important. Waiting for area and the time is very important. Everyone needs a neat, clean, and especially in these COVID time, an area that is as much possible in these times maintained with the protocols that are required. The optometrist workup. He or she is the first person who is in the ophthalmological fraternity to interact with the patient. So it's the gate man who is the first one, who is in the receiving team. The receptionist actually is the second person in the receiving team. But When the workup is being done by the optometrist, he is the one, and the patient understands this guy is possibly a doctor, or he knows about my eyes, and he'll be able to. So a lot of questions are directed to the optometrist during the workup, and an intelligent optometrist will always prime that this patient needs this, and this patient possibly is a difficult patient to handle and should be handled extremely carefully. This patient is aggrieved. So in our system, usually the optometrist is a very important person who gives the cue how this patient has to be handled. Consultation by the doctor, and we all know with very good workups, very good diagnostic aids, the consultation becomes a small thing. But let us all remember that it is for those 3 minutes to 4 minutes to 5 minutes. And we need to give the patient that huge amount of importance so that he or she has come a long way, waited maybe a week or two, has gone under so many other parts of the full workup system, has waited for 2 to 3 hours, and thereby has come to the door where he or she has sought that appointment for that particular doctor. Diagnostics is very important, and thereby complete only by the diagnostic aids. The ward experience, the surgical experience, and the housekeeping experience, everything is important. Not so clean washroom is something that a patient will always remember. If someone has held the patient's hand when he or she was assisted onto the OT table, that experience they will never forget. And if in the ward there was a touch with a feeling, that is an experience that these patients never forget. The common complaints, of course, we know that no one answering the phone, appointment is not available, phone is always busy, and these are feedbacks that we constantly get. But the solutions are also there, and we need to look into the solution for our setup, for our specific requirement of the service that we are giving. First impression is always the key at the reception, and waiting time, rude behavior, handling, demanding patients. The reception will say, oh, what a rude patient. Gave me a hell of a lot of difficulty in doing, I did my best. But the reception person possibly forgot to smile and say, sorry, ma'am, you have to wait. I'm very sorry. Let me help you. So this is something that they would have really appeased the patient and got them. So solutions are small, and we need mock sessions, the staff selection, and the personality of the staff is so very important. The problems of overcrowded waiting area, long waiting time, and of course the solutions are there. Floor managers, in and out time, constant stress by top management. The identifying the interiors. Again, if the air conditioning, etc., is not in proper use, you have to have maintenance managers, complaint mechanism from all areas, and the OT equipment and instruments have to be all the time be upgraded. So active feedback mechanism puts you back on the track whenever complacency sets in, and I definitely do believe genuine problems get identified from the end user. Positive feedbacks help in getting all-round view of the facility. At BBI Foundation, where I work, we have a small system. Whenever a patient says, oh, doctor, we have had such a nice experience. Oh, you are so good. And this one helped me so well. So everybody at BBI Foundation that day gets an eclair or a small Cadbury, just to remind that your work, the whole team's work has satisfied this particular patient. So skill upgradation is important to improve the quality, hands-on training, having good academic environment for fellows and interns, and there are so many other ways for quality control in the net and in the literature. It is an ongoing process, cannot stop. Few key staff need to be identified for the internal control of monitoring, process-driven system rather than individual-based. And as an institution grows, it has to be a process-driven system. And you cannot rely on that particular individual who's going around and acting as the manager of giving solving the important problems to giving the solution. Good patient flow doesn't mean it's good quality. So let us all the time avoid complacency. Don't think that the patients are going to be there forever. No. If that complacency sets in, patients at one point of time will go away. So let's develop good feedback systems. Let's be receptive to criticism, as the saying goes. Nindak nihare pa rakhiye angan kuti chhawaye. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Very nice, Partha sir. And your timing was dead perfect, no? Bang at 15 minutes, you stopped your talk. Amazing perfection. And so we can imagine how perfect you have placed your systems for quality control in your hospital. So, so tell us something about how small practices can also keep quality control. Like it's not possible for them. So what would you advise?
Yeah, in a very small way, I think, I was a very, very small practitioner at one point of time before we had a group practice environment. So all the time, whenever there was a criticism, I immediately took it up and I asked myself, this guy is criticizing. I have done wrong. There is something wrong that I have done. So at times it was really very maddening and it was very upsetting after everything I have done for this patient, and this patient says that, doctor, this is what has happened. And it one puts it off. But if one can take that criticism, said, if this guy is criticizing, I must have done something wrong. I will go back as a practitioner and think that, no, my reception person didn't behave with him properly. He came very upset into my chamber, and obviously everything got haywire, though it was a very simple problem, maybe of a tearing or whatever. So even a small practitioner, whoever starts small, has to be cognizant of the fact that feedback. And as the practice grows, it has to be more scientifically assigned to other people who are taking feedbacks, providing the solution. Because for a practitioner who is going from small to big, it is a very difficult position. Big means more number of patients, so overflow of patients, more number of complaints, but those have to be solved as much accurately as possible. And when it comes to be institution, then it is a little more of a comfort zone, because for 10 practitioners, if you have good quality control systems in place, it works very well. Everybody accepts it. Yes. So that is how the growth is. It is more difficult, I would feel, for the smaller practitioner who is just starting to the larger clinics. And that transition is a very important transition for quality control.
Yeah. Dr. Nirmal?
Yes, Harshul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Harshul. And thank you, Dr. Partha. It was a wonderful talk. Hearing from a scientific committee person, the quality management issues and the strategies. It was a very compiled and concise presentation. Thank you so much. And Harshul, to answer your question for small hospitals, if you heard the last three topics on the quality control by Dr. Partha and the patient satisfaction by the previous speaker, and then internal marketing and the various strategic marketing. And I would really advise you to go through the NABH standards, the entry-level standards. So most of the important points talked here are all part of NABH standards. Don't go for, that's what I would advise the small practitioners. Don't go for accreditation, but use the standards to your benefit, right? Read the standards, see how you can implement some of them in your day-to-day practice. So that gives you the entire information and knowledge for single practitioner or small-time practitioners, and how to go about setting the right infrastructure, how to set up systems and processes, and what outcomes you can follow, and what all internal audit or quality indicators you can devise for your patients. So all this you can work up with the use of standards. So then you can implement some of them, see the benefit, see how you reap up the benefits and how the indicators are changing for your practice. And then you can go on to go for entry level or main standards. So that would be easy for a small practitioners to understand the management aspect, because most of us come from a clinical background and may not understand this management issues. So the right way to go is step by step from entry level to the main standards.